Hello and welcome, my name's Ryan, I'm also known as RM2KDev. Now in this video I'm going to show you guys how to create a sort of Zelda 1.0 style of room transition effect. And basically this was a request from someone in one of the comments on a video, and it's 11:40 p.m. at night, so I don't remember who it was or what video it was, but I will annotate that onto the video later. So to begin with, I've just created a sprite over here on the left. I didn't create this, sorry, I imported this, and it's just a little animation that I've brought across from the RPG project. Now, because this is a Zelda-inspired room transition system, I will be calling our hero Zelda to avoid copyright. So let's make that Zelda. And we're going to give that just the sprite hero down sprite. The next thing I'm going to create is a room, and we're just going to set this room, and we're just going to give it a name called RM init, that just to initialize the room. And we're going to place an instance of Zelda, and I'm going to try and place Zelda somewhere in the center. That's really weird saying Zelda, I'm not used to that. Okay, so Zelda is officially in the room. The next thing I'm going to do is create a couple of rooms, and these are actually going to be our maps for the game. And basically what this gives you is it gives you the option or the ability, say, to actually create your game spanned across multiple rooms, and actually have the player sort of jump between those rooms. So I'm going to call this room RM, and I'm going to call it 100 by 100. And if you think of a 2D grid, the reason I'm using 100 by 100 is because this is going to be the center. If you were to move to the right edge of this, you would then move into room 101 by 100. If you were to move to the top edge of the screen, you would move to 099, like that. So this is going to be 100 by 100, and this is just going to be my center of the room. I'm going to set the speed to 60. That just gives us a 60 FPS VSync, or actually makes the room update at 60 frames per second. And I'm going to enable the use of views. Now with this view, I'm going to say visible when room starts, and I'm just going to make it a 640 by 480 width and height. And the port on the screen is also going to be width 640 by 480. It's going to follow object Zelda, and I'm going to set the H border to 640 and the V border to 480. And what this does is this means that it will be following Zelda directly on the center all the time, no matter what, unless you reach the end of the screen, at which case it will stop moving the camera and allow you to reach the side of the screen. So now that we've created our room, I'm just going to jump in and create another sprite. I'm going to call this one here. This is just to show you guys what the rooms look like. I'm just going to call this sprite cube. Actually, it's probably called sprite square. And I'm going to create a new 32 by 32 pixel sprite, and I'm just going to draw a black square around that. And I might put some lines for decoration, just so that you can see that it's an actual square. There we go. So with the sprite square, I'm not going to bother centering that or anything like that. But your hero, by the way, should be centered. So make sure that your heroes are centered if you're using a power of 2 sized sprite for your heroes. And I'm going to create another object. This is just going to be called object block. Actually, let's keep naming convention straight. Object square. It would help if I could spell square. There we go, and give it the sprite of square. I'm not going to be doing any advanced, physics or anything like that in this game, or even collisions. This is just to show you guys how the game works, or how this system works. So I'm just going to place a few of these squares in the map editor, and I know that you can hold down Shift and Shift and Control to add multiples of these onto the screen, but for some reason that's not working for me. Shift Control. There we go. It's not working for me at the moment. That's probably because I'm using a virtualized copy, but there's still a couple of bugs that I'm trying to iron out with this system. Okay, so I've created one map that was 100 by 100. I'm going to duplicate this room now, and I'm going to change the name to be RM underscore 101 by 100. So this is going to be the room to the right. Now, just to show you guys that this is the room to the right, I'm actually going to just erase all of the objects on this room. And I'm going to write, oh, not with that. Gonna place some more of those squares down. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna make a little arrow that basically points to the right, just so you know that this is the room on the right. And I'll just put some other stuff in here just for no particular reason, just so that it's a little bit decorative. There we go. So that will do for the room to the right. I'm going to duplicate that room again, and I'm going to make this one here. I'm going to get rid of all these objects again. And the reason I'm duplicating these rooms is because it will preserve the view setup and the room settings that we created when we created the first room. So this is going to be, I'll go back to my settings. This is going to be the up room, so I'm going to call this RM100, and it's going to be 099, because when you move up in y-axis, you're actually going down, because 0 is the top. So I'm just going to draw a little triangle pointing upwards on the up room. And I'm going to duplicate that room again, and I'm going to create a down room, just so we can see what's going on here. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. It defaults back to Zelda for some reason. I'm just going to create some of these little arrows. There we go. So that's our down room. Let's call this RM100. This is going to be 101, because this is the room to the bottom. And now we need to create the room to the left. So I will just fill that in, because I'm feeling OCD right now, like I've done with the other rooms. Okay. Now let's duplicate that room, and I'm going to call that RM_099, because we've moved to the left now by 100. And that gives us our 4 directions. So these are the 4 directions. So basically we've got the center room, then we have from the center, I'm actually going to put another underscore and call this cent for center, so you can actually see that this is the center room. And then from that we have the room to the right, we have the room to the left, the room to the top, and the room to the bottom. Now in the center room, what we want to do is go to our settings area and select on creation code. Now in the creation code for this room, we need to define what the borders are going to be relating to. So I'm just going to say global dot room up equals, and that's going to be RM_099 by 100. And we do the same for down, room down equals RM_101 by 100. Sorry, that's not right. That should be X coordinates are going to be 100 by Y coordinates 099. What did I call that room? RM_100 by 099. That's what I put in. I swear, Game Maker. I see what I've done. I'm sorry about that, guys. I've put underscores instead of the X symbol. Let me change those room names. Sorry, I do apologize. It is almost midnight. If you have a look at my clock in my system, you'll see that. There we go. So now these are all X, multiple sign, and then Y. So back in our room center, in the creation code, we now say 100 by 99 is up. So down is going to be 100 by 101. Then we say global.room left, RM, it's going to be 099. And then we say global.room right equals RM 100 by 101. There we go. So what we've done here is we've basically defined what rooms go to the left, to the top, to the bottom, and to the right. And I'm going to remember these. That's room up, room down, room left, and room right. Now that we've defined that in our center room, we can jump back into Zelda and begin to create some of our code. So in the step event, I'm going to drag a code, an instance of execute code. And I'm just going to do a basic if statement to handle our key presses. So I'm just going to say if keyboard check. It's going to be VK left. Then inside of that, we're basically just going to say X minus equals, I'm just going to pull an arbitrary number here and say 5. The other thing I want to say is image underscore index. Oh, sorry, is it sprite index? I think it's sprite index. Sprite index equals SPR hero. And I'm going to say left. and just replace this with whatever your game is going to be using. Now I'm going to repeat that out a couple of times, and this time we're going to do right, and instead of being -5 we'll say +5, and we'll change the sprite to the right sprite, and then we'll do the same for up and down, and we'll swap out those x variables for the y variable, so it's going to be y -5 and y +5, and I'm also going to change that to sprite hero up and sprite hero down. I'm missing a brace on there as well. That's my bad. There we go, put some braces back in. Okay, so basically what we have here is a very simple movement system that's going to allow us to move our character. Now let's just test that out. I'm going to run the game and just make sure that we can move around. So as you can see, we can move up, down, left, and right, and we can also move diagonals. Doesn't really matter for now. The next thing that we need to do is go into our creation code, because we need to move, because we put Zelda on this init room, we need to move Zelda to this 100 by 100 center room here. The reason we put Zelda in the init room is because we want to make Zelda persistent. And what persistent does means that no matter what room you change to, there will always be the same instance of Zelda on the screen that came from this init room. So inside of our create event, I'm just going to say image speed equals 0.3, and I'm also going to say room go to next. Now because we put Zelda in init, the next room is going to be this center room here. And don't forget to make this persistent or you'll get lots of errors. So let's test that game out now and have a quick look what's happened. Now you'll see that we've been placed into the center room, and if you remember that is our center room sprite, you'll also see that we've got our view working. We've got some depth issues here, but I'm not really making a video to demonstrate that. I'm just going to ignore that for now. But basically, as you can see, we can move around, but when we go to the edges, nothing happens. So we go to these 4 edges, and you'll see that nothing happens. So what we need to do is we need to program those events. Now, thankfully, GameMaker gives us a fantastic event. If you click on Add Event, go to Other, you'll find one that says Outside Room. Now, the Outside Room event will fire once when the hero moves outside of the room. And using that Outside Room event, we're actually able to determine, based on the room's width and height and the player's position, what border they exited the room from. So if we say if x, because we're using the player at the moment, is less than 0, then we can safely assume that we have exited to the left. If we say if x is greater than room width, however, because the width of the room is obviously, if the width of the room was say 720 or 768, I think it is at the moment, and the player's position was at 769, then we want to say that the player has exited to the right. If you see where I'm going with this. Now we just duplicate those and change those values for y. So if y is less than 0, we've exited to the top, and if y is greater than room height, then we've exited to the bottom. Now what we are able to do, because we've defined in the room's creation code which room relates to which border, we can simply say room go to, I think I call them room left. And these will all be defined inside of our map. So I'm just going to update all of these to say right. I think I called this room up and room down, but I will confirm that now just to make sure. I called them up and down, yes, that's correct. So we want to go to room up and room down. So what will happen now when we exit to any side of our game, we will be immediately transported to the next room, or we'll error. We probably will error. What's actually happening is we've been transported to the next room, but we are placed at the position that we exited the last room because we're persistent. And because that's outside of the room, the outside room event is firing again, and this chunk of code here will... Andreas, I went to school with him. And this chunk of code here will basically try and run again, but there is no room defined. So what we need to say when you exit to the north is we need to place the player at the bottom of the room. So we need to say y equals room height, and I'm going to move the player up by 16 pixels. So it's room height minus 16. If you were to exit to the bottom, we need to say y equals 0, so it's the top of the room now, plus 16, because we're going to move the player down by 16 pixels, because the player is 32 pixels wide, and we want them to sort of be half on the screen, half not. If the player exits to the left, we need to say x equals room width minus 16, because the player is 32 pixels wide, so half of him is going to be 16. And if the player exited to the right, then we want the player to appear on the left side of the next map, which is going to be 0. Now let me just put my commas back into this. There we go. And that's also, it's going to be 0 plus 16. There we go. And I know you don't need to say 0 plus 16, but for readability, and cleanliness of code, I always define exactly what I'm doing. So when I come back to read this, I'll be like x equals 0 plus 16. Ah, that makes sense. I've put them on the left, and then I want to move them over 16 pixels. So let's give that a shot and see if that works now. So if I move to the top, we still get an error. Let's have a look what that error is. Room up. Ah, of course, the global variables. My apologies. Jump back into Zelda. It's not room left, it is global.room left. Okay, and my IDE appears to have just crashed on me. Not too sure why that is. Let's just have a look. Okay, sorry about that. My IDE just crashed on me. So what we need to do is go to our outside room event and change these from room left and room right to global.room left. I'm just going to copy that and paste that in front of all of those because they are globals and they are not local variables. And that should fix our error. If we move to the top, you'll see that we've been moved to the top, to the bottom of the top room. Now what we need to do is this system is already working. So basically all we need to do now is define where these rooms go. So this is the right room. So in the creation code, all we need to do here is say global.room left equals, and we're going to say rm, and it's going to be our center room because from this room, the room to the left is the center room. So then from our right room, if we say creation code, is that what I just did? Isn't that what I just did? 101 is right. That's correct. 099 is left. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to adjust this image here so that those arrows point to the left. There we go. And I'll just fill that in. There we go. Cool. Right, so now that arrow points to the left, and I'm just going to make a small one here so you can actually see that that points to the left when we start the game. Cool. So that's our room to the left. So basically now from here we need to say global.room right equals, that's going to be our center room because to the right of this room is the center room. Now this is our up room, so from here we need to say that our down area, global.room down equals rm underscore, that's going to be 100 by 100 center because we're coming back to that center room. And from our down room, we need to say that global.room up, room up is going to be equal to our rm, that's going to be our center room as well. Now just demonstrate this and that will most likely complete our tutorial. So let's have a quick look how this goes. So if we move down, you'll see that we've been moved into the down room. If we move up, we've been placed back up here. If we move to the right, we've gone to the down room. That's a slight bug. Alright, I think I've messed up my my commands here, but you guys get the idea. So that's our left room to the left, our up room to the up, our down room to the down, which is working, and our right room is going to the down room. So let's fix that just quickly. Settings, creation code, room right should be 101 by 100. And it's much easier to work with these if you would actually say take an image and actually draw on that image what you were doing. So let me just quickly demonstrate that with Sketchbook. Apologies for the strange noises. I'm just moving my tablet into place. Okay, so basically what you would probably do is you take a sheet of paper. Forgive me because I'm not too familiar with this application. Take a piece of paper and draw on it. How do we get black? There we go. Black. Slightly thicker. There we go. And basically draw on it something like this. Draw yourself a nice little square on the paper. Divide that up into as many columns and rows as you like. If I add just one more onto that. Sorry for this really crappy drawing. I'm just trying to demonstrate the idea. There we go. I just added another column and row. That's a really crap. 100 by 100, if you say that. And then to the left is going to be 0.99 by 100. To the right is going to be 101 by 100. And it's a lot easier to actually see what you're doing if you actually write it down like this. So this is going to be, up is going to be 100 by 0.99, 100 by 101. And then when you go to the right here, it's going to be 101 by 0.99, if you see how that works. So 101, 100, 0.99, 0.98, and then you do the same thing over here. So it's going to be 0.98, 0.99, 100, 101, 102, and then you can easily work out what room's what. So it's going to be 0.98 by 102, and you're able to basically just create a map by filling in these areas that you want to create whatever you like to create. That actually didn't make much sense, but anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. If you don't know, I've got a Patreon page set up now. As you can see, I have 2 Patreons, so thank you very much to you Heartbeast on YouTube, fantastic channel, and Red Spark as well, a fantastic viewer. So please go check that out and support professional game development tutorials that are being created at midnight. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye.